level document. ChatGPT missed a critical contradiction buried on page 142 because it literally ran out of context. Claude found it in one pass. But here's the thing nobody tells you. If you talk to Claude the same way you talk to ChatGPT, Claude will fail you just as badly. So this video isn't a Claude is better argument. That's played out. This is the actual migration system, memory transfer, prompt rewriting, workflow architecture, and the privacy trap that could expose your proprietary data if you skip one step. Stick around because by the end of this, you'll have a complete operating system for using both tools together in 2026. Not replacing one with the other, building something better. Okay, first thing, on March 2nd, 2026, Anthropic released a native memory import tool. Free and paid users both get it. Here's how it works in literally 60 seconds. You open ChatGPT. You run Anthropic's export prompt inside ChatGPT. It spits out a code block containing all your stored memories, preferences, custom instructions, everything. You copy that block. You paste it into Claude's memory sayings. Claude parses it and converts it into its own format. Done. But, and this is where most people trip up, before you do any of that, you need to audit what you're actually moving, because years of ChatGPT memory, a lot of it is what I'd call context debt. Outdated preferences. Contradictory instructions you added 6 months apart. Rules you set when you were experimenting and never cleaned up. It's basically a digital attic, full of stuff you're emotionally attached to but haven't actually used since 2024. Moving all of it into Claude doesn't make Claude smarter. It makes Claude confused. So before you hit paste, export your ChatGPT memory from settings, open the file, and ask yourself 3 questions. Is this still relevant? Does this preference actually reflect how I work now? And, we'll come back to this one, is this something I want feeding into an AI training pipeline? Delete everything that fails any of those tests. What's left is your actual valuable context. Now here's the part that genuinely surprised me when I first switched. Claude requires XML tagging to perform at its best. And I know that sounds like a step backwards, like we went from just talk to the AI naturally back to writing HTML from 2003. But there's a real reason for it. Claude was trained on data structured with XML tags. Tags like instructions, context. That's how its massive 200,000 token context window, which is roughly 300 pages of text by the way, compared to GPT-4o's 128,000 tokens, stays organized at scale. Without those tags, you're basically handing a sous chef a grocery list written on a napkin and expecting a 3-course meal. Technically possible, but you're leaving so much on the table. Here's a side-by-side. Old ChatGPT prompt. Please analyze this document and look for inconsistencies. New Claude prompt. Instructions tags. Analyze the document for logical contradictions, data inconsistencies, and temporal conflicts. Close instructions. Examples tags. If the document says founded in 1995 on page 3 and founded in 1998 on page 45, flag this as a contradiction. Close examples. Context tags. Prioritize contradiction finding over summarization. Assume the user is a compliance officer. Close context. Same task, completely different output quality. ChatGPT works with suggestions, Claude works with structure. That's the muscle memory you're retraining. Hybrid workflow philosophy, 145 to 230. Here's the reframe that actually changed how I work. The goal in 2026 isn't replacing ChatGPT, it's specialization. Think of it like a kitchen. ChatGPT is your prep cook. Fast, creative, great at rapid ideation, schema generation, brainstorming. You need 10 JSON structure ideas in 3 minutes? That's ChatGPT. You need a first draft of anything conversational? ChatGPT. It's built for speed. Claude is your head chef. Slower, more deliberate, but the output quality on complex structured work is on a different level. Long document reasoning, multi-file analysis, catching contradictions across 300 pages, that's Claude's domain. And then there are Claude's agentic tools, which are genuinely a different category of thing altogether. The agentic layer, Claude Code and Cowork, 230 to 330. Claude Code is a command line tool, runs in your terminal. It's not a chatbot. It's designed as a Unix utility. You tell it to refactor a code base for performance, and it autonomously reads files, runs tests, executes Git commands, commits changes. You're not typing. It's just working. That's not an assistant giving advice. That's a coworker doing the job. Now, If the words command line just made you want to close this tab, Claude Cowork is the desktop app version. Same autonomous execution, zero terminal knowledge required. You can tell it, organize my downloads folder by file type, and create a CSV of all PDFs modified in the last 30 days. It does it. Read these customer feedback files, find common themes, generate a summary. Done. Rename these files to match this naming convention, move them to the right folders. Also done. I genuinely spent 3 months training ChatGPT to help with my research workflow. When I tried just copy-pasting my entire custom instruction set into Claude, it was not great. Kinda like trying to run a PS5 game on a Nintendo 64. The hardware is different. 20 minutes restructuring those same instructions with XML tags. Completely different story. That's the switch cost. 20 minutes. And it's worth every second. So you've got ChatGPT for ideation, Claude for analysis and reasoning, and Claude Code or Cowork for execution. That's the stack. But before you build it, there's something Anthropic doesn't exactly put on the homepage. Pattern interrupt. The privacy bomb. 3:30 to 4:30. Back in August 2025, Anthropic quietly updated its consumer terms and privacy policy. And the opt-out deadline was September 28, 2025. So if you didn't catch it then, you may already be in this system. Here's what the policy says. If you're on the free, pro, or max tier, your conversations are used to train future models by default. You can opt out, but if you do, Anthropic restricts you to a 30-day data retention window. 30 days. After that, Claude has amnesia. Your custom instructions, your preferences, your entire memory setup, gone. You're basically rebuilding your AI relationship from scratch on a rolling basis. So the choice is, keep memory, lose privacy. Your proprietary code, your business strategies, your client insights go into Anthropic's training pipeline, retained for up to 5 years. Or keep privacy, lose memory. And Claude forgets who you are every 30 days, which honestly sounds like a very specific kind of nightmare. And here's the part that I find genuinely frustrating. Enterprise and API tier customers, full privacy and full memory, no trade-off. Corporate data is protected. But individual professionals on consumer tiers have to choose. It's like Anthropic built Fort Knox for enterprises and handed solo developers a combination lock where one of the options is the lock doesn't work. You're not just switching to Claude, you're making a bet on how Anthropic handles your data. And if you're working with anything proprietary, you need to factor this in. The Privacy Smart Workflow, 4:30 to 5:15. Okay, so here's the actual move. 3 options depending on your situation. If you're handling genuinely sensitive proprietary work, look at Claude's Enterprise API tier. Full privacy. No training data usage, no amnesia. It costs more, but your IP stays yours. If you can't justify that cost right now, use Claude's web interface as a stateless tool. No custom instructions, no memory. Just paste your context fresh each session using those XML tagged prompts we talked about. You get all the analytical power with 0 data exposure. It's a bit more friction, but for sensitive projects, it's the right call. And for execution work, Claude Code and Cowork both run locally on your machine. Data never leaves your hard drive. You get the full agentic capability without anything going to the cloud. That's the setup I'd recommend for most independent professionals right now. Keep ChatGPT for your memory-heavy, personalized ideation workflows. Use Claude statelessly for analysis. Use the local agentic tools for execution. Your IP stays protected across the whole system. This is the architecture that actually holds up under pressure. And the one most migration guides completely skip. Escalation, the complete 2026 workflow, 5:15 to 6:30. Let me put the whole thing together so you can see it as a system. Phase 1, ideation, ChatGPT. Conversational, fast, no memory required. Rapid-fire ideas, JSON schema generation, first drafts. This is where you start every project. Phase 2, analysis. Claude web interface, stateless. You paste your XML tagged prompt with the full context of what you're analyzing. Claude's 200,000 token window handles things ChatGPT literally cannot fit in one pass. Complex documents, multi-file reasoning, contradiction detection. This is Claude's strongest ground. Phase 3, execution. Claude Code if you're a developer. Claude Cowork if you're not. Local execution, nothing in the cloud. Full automation of multi-step tasks. Organize directories, refactor code bases, audit files, generate reports from raw CSVs. This is where hours become minutes. Phase 4. Archive. Store outputs locally or in your own private database. Not in Claude's memory. Not anywhere that feeds back into a training pipeline. For teams, each person runs this workflow independently, then syncs outputs through your internal systems. The key is that nobody's using Claude's consumer memory tier for anything sensitive. And look, this is a fundamentally different relationship with AI than most people are used to. We spent years treating these tools like smart search engines. You ask, they answer, you move on. Claude Code sitting in your terminal at 2 a.m, autonomously running tests on a codebase while you sleep, isn't that? That's a coworker. A really fast one who never asks for a raise and doesn't care about your Slack response time, which is either the most useful thing that's happened to productivity in a decade, or a sign that I need to get out more. Possibly both. Major reveal, prompt specialization, 6:30 to 7:30. Here's the thing nobody really spells out. The prompts themselves need to be different for each tool. Not just formatted differently, philosophically different. When you're talking to ChatGPT, you want to be conversational and schema-focused. Generate a JSON schema for a user profile object with fields for name, email, and preferences. Done. It'll give you exactly that, quickly. When you're talking to Claude, you want structured reasoning. Same underlying task looks like this. Task tags, design a data schema for a user profile object. Constraints tags, the schema must support nested preferences and handle null values gracefully. Reasoning tags, explain your design decisions and the trade-offs you considered. Format tags, return as JSON with inline comments. ChatGPT gives you the schema. Claude gives you the schema plus the reasoning behind why that structure is optimal, what the trade-offs were, and what edge cases you should watch for. For rapid work, ChatGPT wins on speed. For work where you need to understand the decision and defend it to someone else, Claude's output is in a different category. Once you internalize that distinction, ChatGPT equals conversational speed, Claude equals structured depth, you stop fighting the tools. You start using them for what they're actually built for. And the combination is genuinely more capable than either one alone. So let's close the loops. You came in wondering why Claude fails when you use ChatGPT prompts. The answer is architecture. Different training, different context window, different expectations. The fix is XML tagging and structured prompts, and yes, it takes 20 minutes to rewrite your system, and yes, it's completely worth it. You wanted to know what a hybrid workflow actually looks like. ChatGPT for ideation, Claude for analysis, local agentic tools for execution, outputs archived privately. That's the system. And the thing most migration videos don't touch, the privacy trade-off is real. It affects individual professionals more than enterprises. And the workaround is using Claude statelessly for sensitive work and locally for execution tasks. The AI world shifted this year. It stopped being about which chatbot gives better answers. It's about which combination of agents can actually execute work autonomously. Claude Code running in your terminal isn't answering questions. It's doing the job. That's the line that got crossed. And most people are still treating these tools like they're just fancier Google. If you want to keep up with how this evolves, and it's moving fast, subscribe to Nuvox AI. We cover this stuff every day, practically, without the hype cycle. There's a button somewhere on this screen. You know where to find it. Stop asking which AI is better. Start asking how to make them work together. Because in 2026, your new digital coworker just started its shift, and it's not speaking the same language you're used to.